Okay, Steve, we move on, and we are talking now about your strengths.
Okay.
And we all have them, which is wonderful. And we have
Got them in
abilities.
abundance.
Exactly. And we all have abilities and skills that stand out from others. And I think this is particularly so in business, where we're often having to change direction and varying tasks and doing a multiple of things.
Mm.
So, what do you consider to be your business superpower, and why?
Basically, longevity of being in the trade, hospitality, teaching. Also, and I think we should be proud of our strengths. Many people aren't proud of their strengths, and they should be. One of them is communication, being respectful. Definitely, they're the two most top ones. And then being a good question asker. Because by question asking a business, you actually get them to answer questions they already know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not about you imparting your knowledge. What you do is facilitate a business. So I've done business coaching before, and I can go into any area, and I've got a secret ingredient as well for businesses, which has worked in the past. It's open communication, good questioning techniques, because once you get your good questioning techniques down to a real fine art, you then, by osmosis, they start getting the answers themselves, and you facilitate those answers and use them in a positive way.
That's brilliant. That's really lovely, because that isn't, it's a self-education thing, isn't it? People can tell you how, but it's like when I'm mentoring, it's how I feel when I'm talking to people, which is important. So
yes, definitely.
Thank you for that. I'll pass you back to Marcia. This is her.
My pleasure, Carol.
I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
How would you define success?
Success, basically, it can run on many levels. It depends what perception of what that person wants to be successful at. Do they want money? Do they want a big house? Do they want a large family? I think the best way to define, contentment, we go back to contentment. If you're not content with your life at 50 quid a week, you're not going to be content with your life at 50 million pound a week. It's that happiness, it's that self-awareness. It's that every day's a beautiful challenge, if you like, and not being scared. And I think once you get to the point of not being scared, well, you're going to be scared anyway. There are points to be scared. You, in contentment, isn't that successful? Just going to the garden. If you get work in, that's brilliant. And I've got some great contracts coming through as well, actually, the last 2 or 3 weeks, brilliant contracts. Doing the job, assessing young students, apprentices, which I do predominantly throughout the country. It's been shut down for the most. Isn't just coming away from your job each day and appreciating Mondays. And I've got to say this, I wish people stop complaining about Mondays, because Monday is really hurtful about it. And I'm going to say this, Mondays, when you moan about Mondays, you're not allowed to, because that Monday buys your holiday. That Monday puts food on your table. That Monday fixes your car when it's broken. And when you are moaning about how price it is in your car, that's an investment to get you to work and a holiday. So stop moaning about Mondays and give Mondays a bit of a go. I'm sorry, but it's...
To the Boomtown Rat.
I had to rant, but it's that success. You have to appreciate what we have to appreciate success, which could be on a daily basis in a business. And get another person to be successful gives an intrinsic successful reward in itself.
Yeah. It's interesting when what you say about the Mondays, which I find quite amusing. People get worried about stuff, and it's a symptom of the disease. It's not the disease itself. So when people
Correct.
are worrying about Mondays, it's a symptom of something else that is going on in their lives. And it's about that recognition, isn't it? And I suppose it's where, when you talk about these questioning techniques that come in, this is where the questioning techniques come into their own, when you can start to interrogate, small I, people around why Mondays are an issue for them. I always have to remind myself, it's a symptom of the disease, not the disease itself.
Correct. And another thing on top of that, and do you know what is the consequence? Sometimes in the corporate world, let's send an email out 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, jolt of anxiety for those receiving on the receiving end. If you can't do it during the working day, stop it. Time out. Let's have that time where and you could send an email out on a Sunday night to some people, to a group of people, and those group of people are going to get anxious for Monday morning. That's already teeing you up for a bit of a Monday morning that you don't want. And that's not fair. And we have to appreciate Mondays. I love Mondays. I absolutely love it. And because I appreciate what it gives me and my family. And that's, well, sometimes as a chef, our Mondays are a Thursday, but I wish people stop moaning about the weather. It just, I'm sorry, Carol, it's that negative thing. Yeah. So what if it rains? There's nothing you can do about it. Stop moaning. Think of something decent.
It's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And they start looking forward to Friday already. They're wishing their life away to start off with.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about, in terms of your definition of success, about contentment, appreciating Mondays, and actually seeing success in others gives you that feeling of success.
Yeah, for sure.
So by your own description of success, would you see yourself as successful?
I'm going to be a hypocrite now because because I'm always looking for the next 2 or 3 steps ahead. So in successful, it means I'm looking for 2 or 3 steps ahead. But the hypocritical side is I actually don't want to reach the end goal too soon because I'm enjoying the journey too much. I'm enjoying the view. I'm enjoying the clarity. That's the only way I can put it. I've made myself into a hypocrite.
Not at all. Not at all. It's about being honest, isn't it? It's where you're at. You know, it's where you're at right now. But thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you.
And my question, you've got me back again.
Hello, Carol.
My question is that you have now shared with us about your books, the 2 books that you've written.
Yes.
And it's obviously a pleasure to talk about those as well.
Thank you.
But is there a book or an article that you've read recently that's really had a significant impact on your journey? Can you tell us about it in particular, and to explain really why it's so significant to you?
Yes, I can. There's several books in my life. One of them was when I was going to university. There's a psychologist called Edward de Bono. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He coined the phrase 6 hats. He's an absolute genius. He's like the rock and roll psychologist. He's not mainstream. In fact, I used him for my university when I went to university, and they didn't know who he was up there. I was like, really? And I used him.
You're very familiar with 6 hats.
Yeah. And Edward de Bono, his books are brilliant, and they actually put him on the reading list at university when I went. He had this little practical book called Practical Thinking, and what he did, he had one experiment, and it was a cylinder in front of a university hall, and it just fell over. It wasn't that it was important, it was how people perceived how it fell over. And he broke down the personalities of people that they would do like an X equals MC squared type of affair, or really weigh out ways of it falling down. I used him, and he was like a rock through through my teaching, but also on personal thinking and behaviours. He wrote The Beautiful Mind, mind mapping, and he really was fantastic. And in fact, it did have a good, it really filtered through personal life, because he talked about the black box theory, which I used it for my Max when he was going to university, when he was going to school. And I used the theory actually for my assignment when my poor boy was coming. I forgot to remember this rhyme. By using the black box theory, I managed to get my son to remember the verse the next day for Carol, Christmas Carol, and he was the only one in the class to do it.
All right.
And it was a way I used techniques of stuff that you don't actually need to know quite now what that is. We'll come to it later. You just need to do this task, A, C, D, F. We'll bring it up when you start understanding how it rolls on. In fact, that's probably the biggest influence. And lately, just the last couple of weeks, I'm reading James Allen, actually, As a Man Thinketh. And it's a brilliant small book written in 1903 about how a person thinks, which is as a man thinketh, but as a person thinks, about mindset, about he coined the phrase, which is brilliant, circumstances do not make the man, they reveal the man. And it's something I worked on really these last few weeks. They're revealing that this period of time has revealed us in so many ways. We probably would be here for 3 hours if I don't stop talking at the moment now.
Yeah, that's great. That's interesting. So, can I equally ask you, Steve, where do you find your contentment, both professionally and personally?
Yeah, professionally, my contentment is when I get to my when you're a lecturer or any team builder, if you like. I like to call my students team, not cohort, not a team. They can run through weeks 1 to 36, and I like to get them to a point through challenging techniques in the classroom and really getting the buzz going, to get them to that self-managing stage. If I can get into that self-management stage, and I'm going, the leaders start coming through. Those that don't want to sit in the front start sitting back, but they don't mind being told what to do. The hierarchy falls into place. And I'll tell you what, Carol, it's where the magic happens. It's the beautiful sweet spot. At that moment in time, you know you've got them. And that is that really is contentment, if you like.
Well, it must be, because it's such a big challenge when you've got a room full of people. It must be wonderful when you start feeling that way.
Oh,
Centering yourself around that feeling.
Absolutely.
So tell me, Steve,
Yes.
What does the future hold for Steve West, author and public speaker?
Yes. Right. Even though I can't predict it, and nobody can, I'm going to make headway towards making that future in respect of the book, carrying on with the assessments, carrying on with speaking, carrying on with motivating people.
Yeah.
The book, some time back, there was a bit of flux. What's my intention in life? My website was small business focused. Actually, I adapted myself to be hospitality intention. The book was a focus, and now I've got a new challenge of trying to get it out there. So publishing house has got it at the moment. So it's a matter of spread betting the positive things, like a CV library, updating your CV library, being positive on LinkedIn, which is very, very important. There's some great people out there, great network. So I'm sort of spread betting positive intentions with the book, getting some revenue for hospitality action, trying to help people. And that's where I am.
Yeah.
And it's going to be maybe a starting point for a new journey.
Yeah.
Which I'm looking forward to. So, and I'd like to now focus a bit more on coaching now, helping people to negotiate their lives but actually, do you know what? Make them believe that they've got a future. Actually, to be honest,
Well, I think that's wonderful. It's all about giving people hope, isn't it? About
true.
giving them some hope and direction. Steve,
Balance.
it's
Mm,
been a pleasure for me to be asking the questions.
thank you,
I'll pass you back to Marcia now to conclude the interview. But I've really enjoyed it, and thank you for sharing.
Carol. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. It's a privilege. Thank you.
So this is the part of the
Yeah.
interview, Steve, where Carol and I go through some of the messages that we're taking away
Okay.
from what you've said, and I'm going to defer to CC for you to make a start on
I've
what.
got about 25,000.
If you can make a start and
Well,
then pass back to me, then I can.
yeah, conclude. The last part of the conversation there is something I've written down because it's something quite dear to me, and that's to give hope by help. And I enjoy doing that, you know, to try and give people hope, and hopefully by talking to me or chatting to me, sharing their problems, that, you know, I can give them some support. So that I've taken that away from what you've said, you
Thank
know,
you.
about your latter part of what you're doing. Um, the other thing is that be proud of your strengths. I think that's a wonderful thing, to be very proud of your strengths, because we're
Mhm.
not always very proud of our strengths because we don't always think about them. So I
No,
think you know, that's really important. Um, and give something back to yourself. I really,
Yeah.
really like that.
Mm.
It gave me a bit of permission there to, you know, because that's what you need, isn't it? You just feel you've got
yes,
to have a bit of permission about doing that.
yes.
And I think that, you know, that was quite significant. And also to dig deep to turn things around. That was something else that, you know. But I've got loads of them. But I think I've just got that learn to survive feel about you, and you've obviously achieved that.
Thank you.
And there are my sharing thoughts. I'll pass you over to Marty because she'll obviously have a few as well, I would think.
Yeah,
Okay.
I could go on at length, but I won't.
yeah,
Thank you,
it's
Carol.
good. It's
Very
all good.
good.
It's been
Mm.
a useful reminder for me. So some of the messages are a reminder taken out of some of the things that you've said. So I've had some of the ones that CC has already mentioned about, you know, I've got feed into other people's strengths. I mean, you put it slightly differently, but it's what we take away individually, isn't it?
Yeah.
What we
Yeah.
hear that's important. And do something creative for yourself. So I've got that one. But I've got other reminders. And the first one is a strapline that I use all the time when I'm delivering coaching or when I'm teaching. And that's understand the significance of what is truly significant. So there's lots of words and phrases that are being used,
Yeah.
but what are the significant bits that you can pull out of that resonate with your life, where you are right now, and that are going to help you to take the steps forward? So that's the first one that it straight away came into my mind. Be open and willing to learn from others, whatever walk of life they come from.
For
So
sure.
for me, that's another reminder
Yeah.
that came out of the conversation. It's not the tool that we're using, it's who's wielding the tool that makes it significant.
Correct.
So whether it be coaching, whether it be mentoring, whether it be teaching, whether it be cooking, whether it be building,
Yeah.
you know, we've all got, you know, when you talked about that level of skill,
Yes.
we've all got that level of skill. And straight away, as you started talking about that, I thought absolutely, he's absolutely right. It's not just about the skill, it's about the people wielding the skill
Yes.
that makes it
Yeah.
significant. And so when
Correct.
you're in the classroom and you've got your colleague saying, actually, that's a, you know, a new way of looking at it, or can you come and talk?
Yeah.
The same skills that other people are using, but you're wielding the skill in a different way.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
It's like a lightsaber that you're waving around,
Absolutely.
and people are then taking, you know, taking note of that. It makes them see it in a different way. You know, that same thing.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
language we use is powerful,
Mm.
and that power can be destructive or constructive. Be
Oh,
mindful.
yes.
So when you talked about communication and how you've used what you do as an orator to support your learners and help them to realize their potential, you're using that in a constructive way.
Yeah, for sure.
But you've also alluded to the fact that there's people out there that are actually using it in a destructive way, and it's about being
Definitely.
to recognise the difference between them too.
Mm.
Be mindful of other people's experiences. Just because they don't reflect our own doesn't mean you can't learn from them.
No.
And when you talked about your dad, that was really key when you talked about your dad, because it made me go, wow, you know, he has gone out of his way, even though you didn't have a relationship with your dad, to go find him, to talk to people, and to reflect on their experiences so you could see the glimmers of positivity
Yeah,
in
for
the
sure.
man. That is just mind-blowing. That's taking it to a whole different level of
Thank you.
wanting to get to know somebody and understand where they're coming from. That, you know, that gave me chills when you were talking about that.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute privilege, sitting and talking, as Carol said, talking with you today. I've got, you know, so much out of it today that I need to think about in terms of my own practice.
Well, okay.
If I can be so bold as to say, Steve, that if there's an opportunity to invite you back, maybe for you to do a session on a subject, a topic that you're particularly interested in. You don't have to answer that now. I'd be delighted to have you back to talk to some of our group members about some of the stuff that you've gone through in terms of what Carol questioned you on in terms of challenges and how you've overcome those challenges, really.
I would, yes, it'd be a privilege, and I'll be most grateful, and I'll receive with gratitude that, yes, for sure, definitely.
That'd be brilliant. We'll get onto that and try and get something set up sooner
and
rather than later.
Not a word, yeah.
When I say we will, I mean CC will. CC will be setting up.
Bless her.
That's what she does so well. Sets up these
Because
things.
she loves Mondays.
Yeah,
I adore
brilliant.
Mondays.
You enjoy every day of the week, CC. Every day of the week is a party day for CC.
Brilliant.
It's just that my life just carries on now, day to day, and I'm quite happy with where I am, and so Mondays are fine.
Yeah, fantastic. Steve, before you go, please, once again, nice and steady, could you give people contact details? So if when they've watched the presentation from you and the interview from you today, if they want to make direct contact with you, please give us the details of how they can find you.
Yes. First of all, LinkedIn, just under Steve West. Twitter, only one Westy. Instagram, I put some stuff up there about mental health and stuff. Only one Westy again. And lastly, my website, which is stevebwest1.co.uk. And on the website, there's also a chat as well, so I can pick up. So if you go on the website at stevebwest1.co.uk, I can pick up the chat as well instantaneously. So if anybody's out there need a chat, I'm always offering up an ear to someone who may need of assistance. Could be a chat, a new starting point, always there.
Fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. Once again, thank you very much, Steve West,
Thank you.
author and speaker.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Steve.
much. Carol, good to see you again. And Marcia, thank you. Much gratitude. Thank you.